Lots of examples here is the name of the game for section 3.2. The cost of running a summer camp is modeled by the symbolic rule, a function here, this guy, where n represents the number of campers and c represents the cost in dollars. So here we have a symbolic rule that relates the number of campers and the cost. After conducting a survey, it is expected that at least 70 campers will attend, with the campsite holding a maximum of 450 campers. So here's the question: what is the practical domain and the practical range of the function? Well, here's what I recommend doing. Every time you read this, go back and review the definition, go look at some examples. If you were to do that, you would see what are the possible collection of replacement values for the input variable that makes sense, practical sense. So you have to come over here and look at your how your function is defined. Here it's by an equation. So which is the input? Is it n or is it c? And hopefully you're thinking it's n. That's the input variable. And what does that represent? I always recommend you come out here and write what n represents. And it's given to us in the situation here. It represents the number of campers. So I'm going to write that down. And c, being the output variable, represents the cost in dollars. Okay, so now the question is, what makes sense here in this situation, given all the information presented? What makes sense for a possible replacement values for n? And so we'll start with 0. Would 0 make sense? Could you have 0 campers here? One would argue yes, just because you could have nobody attend, but look at what the survey said. It was expected to be at least 70, so you got to take that as truth. So a prediction or a possible replacement value here would not include 0. It would start at 70. Could n be 1,000 campers? Possibly, but what does the information in the situation give us? We have a maximum of 450. So now we have within the information itself the answers we're looking for, and that's what we're asking you to do, is examine the information given, use the definition of this, and then come up with a collection. So hopefully you're thinking from 70 to 450, right? From 70 to 450 would be possible replacement values for n. And there's a nice way to say that. I always say use the word description of the variable itself, so there's no ambiguity. And so what we can say here is any number of campers from 70 to 450. So that's what we'd like for you to say. It's the best way to say it. So there's the practical domain. Any number of campers from 70 to 450. Okay, so let's go after the practical range. It's all the output values that correspond to this. All of the c values that correspond now to your practical domain. And so now there's some calculations to be had or to be done. So you first have to ask yourself, how much would it cost for 70 campers? Plug that in there. How much would it cost for 450 campers? Plug that in there. And then take all the costs associated with those and then everything in between. So if we plug in 70 there, plus 25. So 2950. And I hit second enter, and I'm going to plug in 450 in here. So the possible c values would range from there to there. And so again, we'd want you to use the wording of the variable itself. So any cost from 2950 to 12,450 would be the practical range there. So that's how you should write that.